Within a few weeks, 600,000 troops come ashore to take on the Germans. South of the beachhead, Normandy's narrow roads are lined by walls of rock, dirt, and thick vegetation called hedgerows.
And when we hit the hedgerows, that's when we were losing a lot of men.
Too tall to surmount and too thick to penetrate, these hedgerows provide perfect cover for the outnumbered Germans. Hitler's armored divisions arrive and stop the Allied advance cold.
We'd be in one hedgerow and the enemy would be in the other hedgerow, which the other hedgerow was about 100 feet of open space. We had to go in that open space to crawl and get to the enemy that was in the hedgerows firing at us.
In order for armored units to break through Normandy and sweep across central France to Paris, the hedgerows must be breached. One ingenious American sergeant fashions iron-pronged extensions that easily attach to the front of the tanks. The men call them rhinos.
And the tanks were able to plow through and make openings for us. And that's the way we took over the hedgerows. Then it started where you'd be chasing the German armies that were running backwards. And as they fell back, we were just following them, firing at them.
Close air support chews up German counterattacks, while General George Patton pushes his Third Army hard. His men don't disappoint.
And they did so with incredible success. In 3.5 weeks, they got all the way to Paris. At the end of August, Patton was really at the height of his powers. He had covered several hundred miles of territory and conquered half of France and liberated Paris in less than 4 weeks.
The tank conditions were ideal. We had long nights, short days, and the ground was absolutely dry. The tanks could go anywhere.
Tank Commander Al Erzik rolls with Patton's Third Army as they press the German borders south of the Ardennes forest. But as autumn fades, one of the worst winters in Europe's history grips the front lines. The Germans launch a surprise offensive.
They attacked under the worst possible conditions, but they knew they were going to do it, they were ready for it, and we were not. So the advantage went to them.
December 1944, a massive German force rolls through the rugged Ardennes forest. The Allies are caught completely off guard. Thick cloud cover keeps Allied planes grounded, unable to exploit their air superiority. It's Hitler's last desperate gamble. A German breakthrough here could cripple or even reverse the Allied push toward Germany. German armored columns punch a huge bulge in the American defenses, threatening to split the Allied advance in two. For both sides, no point is more crucial than Bastogne. All major roads intersect this small Belgian town. The 101st Airborne, including Buck Compton and Earl McClung, is ordered into the breach. But as they make their way into Bastogne, they're confronted with their fellow troops in retreat.
We started going up the road, and pretty soon we see these American soldiers coming this way with no weapons and their eyes bugged out. They had been overrun. That division just actually, under fire, caved in, and we had to go and plug it up.
The 101st truck into Bastogne and join the town's ragged defenders.
They asked us how we survived. Some of the guys didn't, you know. Lost arms, legs, feet, ears, hands. They say I was out there hunting Germans all the time. I was out there walking to keep warm. That's what I did, keep from freezing to death.
For a week, the outnumbered Americans bravely defend the Belgian town of Bastogne. In fierce fighting, the Germans fail to pierce the American defenses. When the Germans offer terms for surrender, Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe replies, "Nuts."
When the Germans got the word nuts, they said, nuts, nuts, what that, nuts? They didn't understand that at all.
In France, Eisenhower meets the Supreme Allied commanders. He asks who can redeploy quickly enough to relieve Bastogne. General George Patton answers the call.
The only person who stood up and said that he was able to do so was my grandfather. He said very famously that he could engage 3 divisions in 48 hours. Now keep in mind that his troops were about 100 miles south of Bastogne. Eisenhower just didn't believe it. My grandfather passed along the code words to his chief of staff, play ball, and 3 divisions turned and quickly engaged the Germans near Bastogne.
We moved all night, all day, and half the next night. And these terrible, slippery, icy roads, and we got within 8 miles of Bastogne.
The Third Army wades into the action and presses the German lines. The day after Christmas, the skies clear and Allied planes take over the action.
There's a C-47 and P-51 sitting right there. When that sky cleared and those fires got in there, they just devastated that.
Pounded from every direction. The great Nazi gamble to split the Allies in half fails. Private First Class Ralph Martire comes across a teenage German soldier, one of the many boys Hitler is now sending to the front.
I overtook him. I hit him with the rifle, and he fell down. And I was going to bayonet him when he start calling for his mother. He start going, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." I says, "Why are you calling for your mother?" He says, "I don't want to die." He says, "I want my mommy." I said, "All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make it look like I stabbed you. Pretend you're dead when I move away from you." "Okay," he said, "okay." And I did it.